right, well, welcome back to our candidate conversations. I'm here with Julie Hand. She is running for Associate Circuit Judge, District 11.
Division 11.
Division
yes.
11,
yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So close. And my name is Pastor Daniel. I'm on staff here at New Hope Fellowship. And just as a reminder, we are providing this as a service to the community. We are not endorsing or sponsoring any specific candidate. We just want to give you, the community, the viewer, the opportunity to get to know them. So with that in mind, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and your background.
Well, I'm married, 39 years to Larry Hand. He's an animal scientist, meat scientist. We have 3 children, so it's hard to follow Ann, who has 9. I only raised 3, and we have 2 grandchildren, 6 and 4.5, and they're wonderful. We've lived in Jefferson County for 25 years. Before I was born and raised in Minnesota on a farm, and grew up very humble, very humble beginnings. So that's
Okay, what kind of farm was it?
It was a grain farm, but we did occasionally have hogs or cows. We didn't milk, but we raised steers and stuff, beef, yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
And I had a couple horses actually, growing up.
Yeah,
so.
well, tell me one of your horses' names.
Ginger.
Ginger?
Yeah, and Nikki was the baby.
Kind of red?
Sort of, yeah. Okay. It was a Shetland pony.
Okay.
So it had yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Well, we sent you a list of questions, and so I want to go ahead and dive into those.
Okay.
And we'll see how many we can get through.
Well, do you want me to tell about my experience at all?
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just, I have been working, I've been a judge, I've judged for 3.5 years, municipal judge in Jefferson County, and I've been an attorney for 30 years, 5 years before I moved to Jefferson County, before I moved to Missouri. So I graduated from University of Tulsa with honors and all that. Kind of moved around the country a bit, and then I landed here. I took 3 different bar exams, passed 3 different bar exams, and then once I got here, I started working primarily in family law. So I've done all the fun stuff like divorces and custody and child support and all that good stuff, adoptions and guardianships and everything. Before that, I had a lot of varied experience: school law, bankruptcy, administrative law, antitrust law, things that we don't need down here, some of which we don't need down here. So I think voters should look at the people's experience that have the most that would affect them in a trial court situation, because certainly criminal law is a big thing down here, unfortunately, and family law is a very big part of our dockets, what we do.
And will you tell us exactly what kind of cases the Associate Circuit Court handles?
Yes, the Associate Circuit Court is a 4-year term versus a 6-year term for circuit, and they handle things like traffic and juvenile cases, delinquency cases, some family cases. For criminals, they do the preliminary hearings to determine if there's enough evidence that it should go on to trial, and then they bind it over to the circuit court to do the actual jury trial. I believe some of the associate circuits do some jury trials, but they might be in civil matters that are under $25,000 in dispute. Larger stuff goes to the circuit court.
Sure. And what kind of cases were you handling at the municipal court?
Municipal court is everything they're all misdemeanors. Okay. Their first and second time DWIs are the biggest, most important things that we handle. We do a lot of like stealing, possession of drugs and paraphernalia. There's trespassing, and every speeding tickets, all that kind of stuff is traffic related.
Okay. So you would see some of the same types of cases?
Some. It depends. Like there are some of the local municipalities that have sent their work up to the Associate Circuit Court. So there's actually a circuit court judge now, unfortunately, who's doing traffic only. And those things are, comparatively, for the whole of Jefferson County is the court that I cover. We have 1,200 cases a month. And I think of the 3 municipalities that sent their work to circuit, maybe 100 or 200 or so cases a month. So it's a little different. Plus we have night court, and that's my part-time job, by the way. I have a full-time job with my law firm that I helped found. But the night court is kind of important because people don't have to take off work.
Sure.
So it helps them. Unfortunately, the municipalities that went to circuit now have to come in during normal working hours. So.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Before we get into the questions, I want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Not really.
Okay.
You got the
All right.
gist of
Well,
it.
let's dive into the questions. Will you tell me about a time you faced an ethical dilemma and how you resolved it?
Yes, very early on in my career, when I came here, I had missed a deadline for filing something. I could have been found in default. I was very nervous about it, and I just called the other attorney. I could have faked it and said, "Oh, I did this. I screwed it up somehow, and I could have covered it up." I didn't want to do that. I called the other attorney. I told her what happened. She was very kind and said, "Just file something. I'll agree that it can be late. And she could have fought me on that. So
Sure.
I appreciated it. And everyone here, the whole legal community is amazing, like amazing. Everyone gets along pretty well. They coordinate, cooperate with each other very well. So, and we're welcoming. When people come in from St. Louis or other jurisdictions, I would think they would tell you we're very welcoming to them.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
It's good to hear. What kind of jobs, interest, or volunteer activities have you had?
Oh, goodness. Okay.
And
Well,
you talked about jobs a little bit.
a little bit, but I have been, for volunteer activity, I'll start there. I'm on the board of directors of Birthright right now. I'm also on the board of directors of the community garden in Hillsborough. And I've been a past board of directors on Comtree. I've been on 2 Rotary clubs alternately, a couple different times, between DeSoto and Hillsborough. I was extremely involved in my children's school and church, which is Good Shepherd in Hillsborough. As they grew, I did everything that we're supposed to do as parents, concession stand work. I was a volleyball coach. We did the fish fry, the whole thing. Anything that they needed, we kind of volunteered. So I try to do what I can. Our firm does a lot too. We take in 2 different nursing homes every year for Christmas. We buy gifts for them. We buy gifts for Pony Bird. We've collected gifts for the children's division foster kids program. And we just do a lot of stuff like that. We founded the Hillsborough Community Garden, our law firm did, because we had this 1/4 acre behind our office when we bought it that was wooded, and we didn't know what to do with it. And we're like, well, it needs to be torn down, cut up, So we decided to start a garden. And we happened to have a master gardener in our office who took over. Her name is Liz Miller. She's amazing. And we founded a 501c3 nonprofit. So we got it all cleaned up. She did the bulk of the work, and her friends. And she's done amazing work there. She has raised beds there's a little group of elderly people who live in homes around there. They've kind of taken it over, the ones that can actually move and get around. And what's really cool is she put up a raised bed by the road so that one of the residents who's in a wheelchair could come and garden. Which is so cool, right? And then some of the other people that have their own beds, they have their little name tags on them. They make things for the rest of the residents there who can't get out, like zucchini bread and things like that. It's very neat. Very neat community thing.
That is neat.
Yeah.
I love things that build community.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really part
Right.
of the reason we're having
Right.
these interviews. So, one of the questions that I've really liked, the responses I've had, is that it seems like people are more interested in politics than any other time, at least in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think people are realizing that to complain is to volunteer, okay? And they're getting out there and saying, my government is not what I want it to be, okay? I have to do something to change it. You just met Ann Maloney. She's a mother of 9, and she's coming out after raising all her kids and actually wanting to get involved and fix some things. We have sort of an old school group of government people who, hop from one government job to another, whatever. They've been in government their whole lives, and they get a mentality, and maybe some of us don't like that mentality, so we want to change it. And people, it doesn't matter what walk of life you are, it doesn't matter how educated you are, you can get into politics. We have laborers who are getting into politics. That's great. Anybody who has an opinion and wants to complain about how it's been gets to get in.
Sure. And with that, you mentioned hopping from one job to another. One of the questions I have further down the list is, do you anticipate at least finishing your term?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can keep going till I'm 70.
Okay.
That's the mandatory retirement age for judges. So got a little while.
Yeah. what or who are the major influences in your life?
Well, clearly my parents. My dad had a fourth grade education. My mom had an eighth grade education because when they grew up farmers as well, and they were needed on the farm. Their parents had to quit school at those young ages. They both read extensively, and at my mom's 50th birthday party, my dad took her to get her GED, and he got his. And they never studied. She had no clue that it was coming. You know, she just went and took it. And so they really got their high school education on their own.
From reading.
Yeah. And so I was really impressed with that. They thought education was the most important thing that you could do. And they said, you can't change the world unless you're educated. But for them, in that era, high school was the most important part of education. If you got through high school, you were done. So me going on and finishing college and law school was like, that's the biggest thing in our whole family, I think, that's ever happened. So.
And they obviously taught you the importance of education, even though they didn't have
They didn't have it. They wanted it, you know.
They
But
still had the education.
they also really instilled in me a work ethic, which I think my generation has the work ethic really, really good. I think the newest generation just doesn't have it. I don't know why. We kind of gave our kids what we didn't have, and we kept giving, and they didn't learn to maybe do it themselves. But it's important. Work ethic is very important. No matter what area of life you're in, you need it.
Sure, absolutely. Let's see. And I know that you're a judge, so this
Yeah.
won't necessarily affect you, but I still
Yeah.
appreciate hearing your opinion on this. What do you think is the biggest problem facing our county?
Well, obviously, it's the economy right now is really bad, and I don't know how to get through that. It's a national problem, you know. I think we have to get more income into our county. We need more industry. We need help with that. At the same time, we need to save our green spaces. We don't want 100-unit apartments built on an acre. I mean, it's just what's happening there is pretty bad too. But we do need to figure it out, and hopefully it'll come when our economy gets better and things start rolling again, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And to follow that up, why do you want to serve our county in this role?
Well, we have a problem at the courthouse. You might have heard that already, but we have some, and I don't know how it came to be exactly. Maybe it was partly COVID, but some judges are not showing up for work very often. There's at least one in particular I can think of comes in about 2 days a week. And others just, their dockets are finished for the day, they just go home. You need to be there. You need to be there because my experience when I'm a practitioner is that I might need to go up there and see a judge on an emergency basis, with a motion or something. And if they're not there, it's really hard to figure out what to do. So I just think they need to put in the time. At least, it's a full-time job, 40 hours a week at least, right? And we're all paying for them. All of us are paying their salaries. And if they're not working, it's not fair to the county, So a 40-hour week for me is part-time. Honestly, I work so many hours in my practice, and then I have a part-time job at Muni. So I have a job and a half, and for me, it's kind of hard. So for me, going down to 40 hours, and I would put in more hours if I can. I'll have to wait till I get there and see what it's like. But
Sure.
I'm not going to be one of those people who shows up late and leaves early.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Well, it has been good going through these questions with you. I do
Yeah.
want to move into the lightning round of questions.
Okay.
And so these are questions that you may not have
Heard before.
But it sounds like you may have listened to some interviews, so you might have heard some of them.
Yeah.
But when we were talking before we started the live, you mentioned that you're an avid reader, and your parents were avid readers. So tell me, if you were stranded on a deserted island and you had 3 books, and I'll allow series to count as one book.
Oh, okay.
So Lord of the Rings counts as
Yeah.
one book.
Yeah.
So what would you take?
I would start with a book called Educated. It was written by Tara Westover, and it's a biography. I like books that are true stories. I also get into chick flicks and things like that. So I like some, fiction. But I think I really liked, I want to say the one that I read with my children. There was one I'd read with my son when he was about 8, and it was about a little, I can't remember the name, but now I think it was The Hatchet. The Hatchet, and it's a series of books, and they read them in school, so I bought the whole series for him and we read them together, and it was really cool. It was a kid who got lost on an island. He got dropped off on an island from a plane, and the pilot died.
How fitting.
And he had to,
The deserted island.
right, and he had to figure out how to live, how to survive, and he had to hatch it. And so it was very interesting. It went on, there were a few more books down the road, and it was good.
Sure.
Oh gosh, the third one, I can't. Probably the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible, honestly.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
As a pastor, I'm
Yeah, kind of partial to that.
I believe, but I'm also obligated to say that's a good choice.
Yeah.
When you were 6 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A horse trainer.
A horse trainer.
Yes, of course I had my horse by
Yeah.
then. I loved horses, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then,
all modesty aside, what are you better at than 90% of people?
well, I'm told, I don't really believe it, but I'm told by other judges that are friends of mine that I'm really good at cross-examination. And I think it's because I have ADHD, so therefore I have hyper-focus as a superpower. I can really hyper-focus on something, and everything just is gone out around me, and I can just pay attention. And that's maybe what I do when I'm cross-examining. I don't know what it is, but that's what I'm told. I'm good at cross-examination.
That's awesome. And then, final question, what is your favorite place on earth?
Oh, the beach.
A specific beach?
I've been to a lot of them. I liked Gulf Shores a lot, but it's pretty populated. My husband took me to Tahiti on our 25th wedding anniversary, and we had this private beach. So that was awfully neat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like beaches. I like ocean. That's my happy place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes.
Will you tell us, is there somewhere people can go to find more about you?
Yes, I have a website, judgejulihand.com, and then I have a Facebook page for the campaign, which is Judge Julie Hand for Jefferson County. I think if you just search Julie, you find it.
Probably find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's been great having you on. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for coming out.
Thank you very much.